floods, blood. A stone can break 100 cups and more, but nothing stops the fountain's relentless pour. To break an idol is an easy task. To smash yourself is hard. You need to ask. To know the self's form, read what he dictates concerning hellfire and hell's 7 gates. Each moment there's a plot, dear travellers, drowning more pharaohs with their followers. To Moses and his God, escape today. Don't spill faith's water. That's the Pharaoh's way. So it's very, very ingenious. We don't have time to go through all the niceties of this. Of course, what undid Pharaoh when he's chasing the Rosales, the followers of Bani Israel, was the water that overcame them. Earlier on this talk, I used this phrase about at whatever cost to our ultimate well-being. It takes us on to another adversary, what's called in the Arabic language, and what Sheikh Mohammed warned us about in his khutbah the other day, actually, hawa. This is Eid khutbah. This word is often used to mean love or desire, but in the context of tazkiyah, purification of the self, so to speak, the purgative aspect of Sufism, it has a specialized meaning. In that context, it generally denotes a motivating force, a force that impels us to do things, even though we know very well that they're going to bring bad consequences for us. Our power of reason tells us so. Furthermore, in many cases, such forms of self-indulgence don't even bring us pleasure, or not for long. And yet we find ourselves going ahead and doing them all the same. Doing so tends to become a habit, a persistent and destructive habit. For the drug addict, indulgence may initially bring tremendous pleasure. Eventually, though, there's little or no pleasure, only misery and suffering for every moment when their craving is not satisfied. Allah be our refuge. In the Quran, Allah says, have you seen or have you considered him who takes his hawa as his deity? Allah also says that those who forbade themselves to indulge in the hawa, paradise shall be their abode. This hawa or caprice then is one of the powerful enemies we face upon the battleground of the human heart. May Allah help us all. Time for a poem break, inshallah, and you'll see it's got a connection with the theme. One of the stanzaic poems. I'll do this with Persian first. رها کن ناز تا تنها نمانی مکن استیزه تا از را نمانی مکن گرگی مران جان همراهان را تا چون گرگ در صحرا نمانی دو چشم خویشتن در غیب در دوز تا آنجا روی اینجا نمانی منه لب بر لب هر بوسجوی تا از آن دل بر زیبا نمانی دام عشق پر خود نگه دار که تا از اوج از بالا نمانی مشو اولای هر نشسته رویی. So there's some mistakes in the text here. As the editor of the text, I'm having to straighten them out. مشو اولای هر نشسته رویی که تا از عشق مولانا نمانی مکن رخ همچو زرد از غصه سیم که تا از آن سیم سیم آن سیما نمانی چطور ملک ابد جویی به همت از این نام از این شربا نمانی رها کن عربده خو کن حلیمی که تا از بزم شاه ما نمانی همین کش سرب تعظیم در چشم پیاپی تا کنار بینا نمانی تو زر باش پویان سوی خورشید که تا چون خاک زیر پا نمانی تو استاره به بالا شب روی کن که تا از آن ماه همتا نمانی مزن هر کوزه را در خند صفوه تا از قربت الوسطا نمانی بعد این غزل ترجی باید شراب گل مکرر خوشتر آید چو در عهد و وفا دلدار مایی چو خوانیمت چرا دلوار نایی چو الحمد همی خوانیم پیوست که چون الحمد دفع رنجهایی درا در سینه ها کارام جانی در دیده ها که توتیایی فرو کن سر ز روزنهای دلها که چاره نیست هیچ از روشنایی چو عقلی بی تو دیوانه شود مرد چو جانی کس نمیداند کجایی چو خمری در سرستان افگرفتی برآیند از خیال پارسایی نباشد حسن بی تسبیحش عشاق که نبود ایده ها بی روستایی اگر چیزی نمیدانم به آدم همی دانم که تو بس جان فزایی شب جولنها کنند جان چو ذرات که تو خورشید از مشرق برایی به جان بازی گشاده دار و دار دو دست که حاتم را تو آستاد سخایی مکش پای از گلیم خیش افزون که تا دانایتر از کسایی تا داناتر از کسایی عدو ما با ما و ما را یار می باش که تا موسی صفا را تو اسایی تمسک کن به اسباب سماوات که در تنویر اندر سمایی تر سوم مرسال بستیم که در گوی رجوع یار مستیم. It's the last tarji. It has some Arabic lines. It's a mixture of Persian and Arabic, so you may follow it. ایا خوبی که در جانها مقیمی به وقت بی کسی جان را ندیمی ز دو باغ غایت پر شکست است برشکسته است نباتش را هم آبی هم نسیمی چو خوبان فانی مرزون گردند تو در خوبی و زیبایی مقیمی به وقت قهر بفرستی تو جانت خونی خذوا رزقا کریما من کریمی سهیلی دیگری در جرح معنی یزکی کل روح کالادیمی درایی نیم شب روشن شرابی بگردانی که اشرب یا حمیمی زهی ساقی زهی جام زهی می نعیم فی نعیم فی نعیمی هزاران صورت زیبا و دلبر یعدتون شرابک من نعقیمی حباب آن شراب صحبتون شفاء في شفاء للسقيم تصاعد سكره في رأس زال لوني في طبع اللئيم شبت صحرای بی پایان احزر فؤاد ضيقها كقلب ميم وطوبى للندامى والسكارى إذا ما هم حسوها حسب هيم يسقون رهيقا يشركون بخلي ذا التحدث يا كريمي کسی که آفتاب و من بارانش همی آید به مستان سلامش. He's talking in the first stanza about being good with other people and looking ahead to the beyond the material world. Have done with pride lest you be left all alone. Don't quarrel lest you stay forever virgin. Don't act the wolf. Don't vex your fellow travelers lest like the wolf you be left in the wilderness. Fix both eyes upon the world beyond the senses, that you may go there and not be left here stranded. Do not touch lips with all who seek your kisses, lest you fail ever to meet that lovely sweetheart, the beloved of all. Allah. Guard your wings against the net of ill enticements, lest you be trapped, unable to soar to the zenith. Be not a slave to any grubby-faced man, lest you forfeit the love of our divine master. Don't turn your face gold yellow with grief for silver, lest for this cash you forfeit that enchantment. When you seek the eternal kingdom with true purpose, you'll not go without bread or soup in this world. Have done with brawling, learn to be forbearing, lest you be excluded from the feast of our King. Put on your eyes the collyrium of reverence ceaselessly, lest you be bereft of vision. Be like a moat that rises ever upwards, lest you be trampled underfoot like mere dust. Journey at night to the heavens like a star, lest you fail to attain that matchless moon. Don't dip each jug into the vat that's choicest, lest you be left without the most firm handle, al-urwat al-wuthqa. After this ghazal, there must come a tarji, a refrain. Rosewater drink tastes sweeter when repeated. Since you have won our hearts by keeping true faith, why don't you come wholehearted when we call you? as we're forever reciting praise be for you, who like praise be, and a shield against suffering. Into our breasts, for you're the soul's repose. Into our eyes, for you are their delirium. Lower your head through the windows of our hearts. We cannot live without illumination. You're like reason. Without you, men go crazy. You're like the spirit. No one knows where you are. Like wine, you sink to the head of drunkards. They rise above all modesty and abstinence. Beauty never lacks lovers' clamorous attentions, as feast days never fail to bring the peasants. And as Eid, these sophisticated townspeople know there's going to be influx of their ordinary shab from the countryside. Beauty never lacks lovers' clamorous attentions. As feast days never fail to bring the peasants. If I know nothing else in all the whole world, I know that you are very soul-enhancing. How souls career about like motes of dust when you, the sun, are rising in the east. Outstretch both arms in giving away life itself. You are Hatim's master in the art of giving. Hatim al-Ta'i, the famous Arab chieftain, famous for his generosity. Don't stretch your feet out past your own rug, then you'll become more learned than Kisa'i, the great Arab scholars. To foes be a snake, to us be a companion, for you are the rod of Moses, the pure-hearted. Cling to the ropes which are let down from heaven, you're bathed in radiance from the heaven's lantern. We're watching and waiting for the third stanza, drunken prospect of our friends returning. So this is spiritual inspiration, the Sati that's being addressed. The one who passes around the wine of Tawheed that lifts us up, takes us away, forget our cares and intoxication. Fair one who dwell within the hearts of all men, when the soul's deserted, you're its boon companion. You've made the guard of inner realities blossom. For its greenery, you're the water and the cruel breeze. When this world's fair ones perish, brought to nothing, you still abide with all your beauty and bounty. In times of famine you send down a banquet. From a generous one take generous provision. Another canopus in the spiritual firmament purifies each spirit as it were tanned leather. At midnight you bring wine that's luminous, and pass it round, sing, drink thou, my dear friend. What a sati, what a goblet, and what wine, delight upon delight upon delight. Thousands of lovely heart-enthralling figures, your wine engendereth from one that's barren. The bubbles of that wine and its quintessence are healing upon healing for the sick man. Up to the brain its inebriation rises, removes blame from the nature of the blameworthy. A heart as narrow as the letter meme's heart is changing to a boundless, verdant prairie. Happy the lot of drunks and boon companions. Each time they drink it down like thirst-crazed camels. Keep drinking from their poured wine exquisite. Leave those who are content with talk, O listener, that one to whom the sun is but a servant, his greetings come to those who long to see him. You can't necessarily overcome all these conflicts in one go, but to put them in perspective, a little drunkenness on a night in the spiritual tavern goes a long way, because in a difficult world and a hard world, something to look forward to. This, of course, is for those who are fortunate, they're not ones who go to a football match, see a tribal conflict, they're exult in their victory, or drown their sorrows and loss, and then go and get thoroughly drunk, either to celebrate or to drown their sorrows, and the next day get ready to face another week of the same stuff. But this is expansion for the heart of somebody who knows in their heart of hearts, whatever conflict there is, the right kind of company, the right kind of inspirations will lift them up, and that Allah is most forgiving and gentle, and leads into the next thing I'm going to say as we come towards the close of this presentation. No sickness without a remedy. The enemies, the conflicts we've been talking about, they at times seem formidable, make us fearful we can't overcome them. But we were created to know God and to draw close to His presence, as I've said, and we owe it to Him to have a high opinion, who feeds everybody in the world, who allows people to live, people who are ungrateful, people who even deny His existence. In this world He continues to provide for them. How can we not have a high opinion of our Creator? Having the words of Surat Al-Mulk created death and life to try us as to who is best in actions, the Lord and Cherisher of the universe provide also physicians to diagnose the sicknesses and remedies inshallah to cure them. Accordingly, Allah Ta'ala in His wisdom has selected and appointed the physicians of the heart and the soul, human beings who represent the highest aspects of humanity, these being the Rusul, the Anbiya, the Awliya, the emissaries, prophets and friends of God. Through their guidance and their barakah, their blessing, we have access to a cure, and if so, Allah also wills even a preventative measure for every spiritual ailment. These physicians will be the subject of our next talk, inshallah. Thank you for your attention. I think we have some time for questions or comments. Sorry for the long poem, it's a favourite of mine. I thought we'd be interested to see how he mixes the Arabic and the Persian. He has poems entirely in Arabic as well. مولانا رومي له بعض الأعشار كلها باللغة العربية.
But he was mixing, like putting the first verse in Persian and then in Arabic. No?
Yes.
Like completing the same.
They say Madammat like that, yes. Madammat. He's not the only author who did that. He's fascinated by language. He wrote in Turkish verses, in Chagatai Turkish, and he wrote even some in Demotic Greek. We find all these in Diwan, and they've been studied. And his son, Sultan Balad, was the first major poet to write in Chagatai language, in classical Eastern Turkish language, and especially interesting because he was in Asia Minor, which days where the Ottoman and then the modern Turkish language spoken in this different group.
But as an historical question, so it means that when he was writing all of that, he was implying there that the Persian was that spread in this area. I mean that the people could have understood things like that, Persian and Arabic.
Not everybody.
Not
everybody would have understood Arabic among his followers. He had, ordinary kind of people, uneducated kind of people, and he had educated kind of people with modest education. And rather than this is easy, quite simple Arabic, and so they wouldn't have had too difficulty to understand it. Naimi is not kind of if you were to make great demands. But he got into trouble in his studies of poetry, and his enthusiasm for poetry. Shams Tabrizi said, you shouldn't be reading Al-Mutanabbi. Al-Mutanabbi is one of the most famous Arab poets, and his name, it sounds very sacrilegious, but he's somebody who claims to be like a prophet. So it's kind of, it's not like studying the great religious poets or something. Because they were the great first great Arab religious poets were beginning to appear about at the same time as Maulana, people like Ibn al-Farid. The poems is described as
you know how he used alcohol as a simile? Did that cause controversy at the time?
He doesn't use that alcohol as a simile to be pedantic. He uses wine as a simile. And if you've got a problem with it, then you have to take it up with your Creator. Because he says, فَسَقَاهُمْ وَرَبُّهُمْ شَرَابًا طَهُورًا. You were given the wine. Sharab isn't just a drink, it's wine that is pure. It's not tahur. Tahur is more than pure, it's purifying. Tahur is an intensive form. It's not just tahir. So it's water is tahur is what you may perform ablution with. So if you have a problem with imagery, with symbolism, as some people do, I mean, it's not that rare. Remember that it's not alcohol, and alcohol is najis, we don't give impurity to drink in the next world. But we accept these things bila kayf. We don't know exactly what this means, but when there's not a single word or expression or a letter in the Holy Quran that is not precisely as our Creator willed it to be, and its understanding completely is not in our hands. But if imagery is used that's derived from the Quran, as it is by other writers, and the Quran is quoted, the problem is partly today with our imaginations, because the imagination used to be one of the faculties of the human being that is cultivated, is not seen as something wholly negative. Delusion, yes. Illusion, yes. That's the downside of something that has important upside. Because as a human being, we're going to go to paradise, all right, inshallah, what's the paradise like? But it's got trees, it's got rivers, but you think it's going to be a little tree, I mean, there's some lovely trees here, but you think it's going to be a tree like, hey, do you think this river's going to be like a river like we see? It's what, though I have seen, though he has heard, what hasn't come to the mind of the Bashar? No mortal has been able to, hasn't come to their mind. This is ishara, this is pointing to something. Allah uses imagery. Why does he say these flames in hell, Allah be a refuge, as if they were yellow camels? It won't help with that, because it's something to help. Imagine these are gigantic, leaping, these are alive things. We don't know what the flames of hell are like, and we pray never to find out close up. So, we imagine sort of things, we are given this imagination. It's a whole new subject, we go into it now, and so we don't go in that direction, but it's a faculty that's put there in the human wisdom. And its bad side deludes us, its good side, it raises up our awareness, because part of being a human being is to be able to imagine, to conceive of, not to imagine, not to put in imagination, but to conceive of the absolute, the perfect. You can't look at a human being and say, well, God is something like that. That's not what we do. We're people of Tawheed, people of Tanzih. But as the people, we have to operate by tashbih, some kind of drawing a similarity. It's not saying that things are equal. We've got to give you some idea. We could call it we call it gardens with rivers flowing beneath. We can't imagine exactly what it is. The imagine takes us far enough to see, okay, we've seen a river, we've seen gardens, this is going to be something else. But it's going to be the same. Every time they're given the fruit, they'll say, this is what we were given before. Something similar, in some way resembling. It's resembling, but it's not the same. It's just, because everything has an archetype. But the things, the lower they descend into the physical world, material world, the further they depart from their archetypal realities. Allah Ta'ala knows best. The symbolism, is the lightness of his light. It's taking the idea of resemblance one step further away. It's a niche within which is a lamp. It's to suggest something. And so there's a lamp, there's a niche there. Symbolism is there for wisdom. So the trouble is our education tends to stunt our imaginations. Being saturated with visual imagery stunts the imagination. Having education that gives priority to technical this, that and the other. And watching films instead of listening to stories stunts the imagination. Being told if you want to hear somebody talking about Maulana Rumi, you've got to see their face going like that all the time. It's because of the stunted imagination, the benefit of you people on YouTube. Personally, I'm speaking to a camera out of kindness to my hosts, but I don't like it. I don't consider it Islamically preferable, and my advice to myself and everybody is to learn to just listen to messages, because it's been done that way for a long time, conveying of message, and there was no harm in it. So our imaginations put there with the divine wisdom, don't let's stunt them all together. Can you imagine? A person who had a famous song called Imagine. This is a good example of how the imagination was stunted and mislaid. Poor man. He'd been in the spiritual path, and he went through something else, and he went through anything else. He went to head shrinkers. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. It's easy if you try. So the human imagination is immensely flexible. So we take a warning from the fate of somebody who became very famous, somebody who obviously went through stages in life, somebody who wasn't unaware of the human life as an adventure with dangers, but as a journey of discovery, a curated and gifted person who ended up with that, poor man. No hell below us, above us, only sky. Well, hell isn't below us, hell is within us. And heaven is within us, and in a certain sense. We can condemn ourselves, and we save ourselves from divine hell. Surely. Don't blame me, blame yourselves. So Allah Ta'ala give us success on this battleground. It's difficult for us, but it's easy for him. Aziz, it's worth a Fatiha.